To move this sidebar over to the right, we need to decrease the width of this main section to create space on the right. So open style.css and reduce the width of your main section to 700 pixels. So on line 21, type width 700 pixels. Let's also add a color to our sidebar so that we can see the boundaries of it. So in style.css on line 24, write hashtag sidebar because we're applying CSS to this div with ID sidebar. Then put a background color, and I'll use orange. Save style.css, refresh your homepage. So we now have this main heading with a reduced width, and the sidebar is orange to help us better visualize. But the sidebar still has a width of 100% of the overall container, which is why it's not fitting in the space to the right of this main section. In order to have the main and sidebar element fit into the container, the sum of their width should be equal or less than the container width. So open style.css, right now the container width is 1000 pixels, and the main section width is 700 pixels. 1000 minus 700 is 300, but this main section also has 50 pixels of padding on the left and right side. So therefore, it's really like 1000 pixels minus 800. So we have 200 pixels to fit the sidebar in on the right side of the main container. So that's no problem, we could do that. In style.css, set the width of the sidebar div to 200 pixels. Also, let's float our main section and our sidebar to the left. Save style.css, refresh your homepage. Your sidebar and footer has popped up to this right-hand side. We'll fix this in a moment. But you might be wondering why we floated this main div and the sidebar to the left. Think of float as a vacuum on the left side of the page that keeps pulling things to the left. It will pull this main section to the left and the sidebar to the left. And if there's room, it will pull the rest of the elements up to the left as well. We don't want the footer on this side of the page. So we need to stop float from working on the footer. To do that, in index.html, add a new div tag on line 42. Make sure you open and close the tag, then give it a class equal to clear. This tells it to stop floating or pulling things up. To have this work, you need to have some code written in your CSS for this class clear. Open style.css and you will see you already have some code that's been pre-written. You target the class with CSS with dot, we have clear as both. A couple things to remember here for creating columns. Use float left, and whenever you float columns, you will always need to use clear. So let's test this out. Make sure everything's saved, refresh your homepage, and now only the sidebar is being floated on the right side of the page. In this tutorial, we got this sidebar positioned correctly on the page. You may want to have an image with text going on either side of it. You could use float to make that happen. Open style.css and also index.html. We'll be using float to target this image tag. In style.css, type img and then float, and let's try floating it left. Save style.css, refresh your homepage. Since the image is being floated left, the text is on the right. Let's try floating it right. Save style.css, refresh your homepage, and now the image is floated to the right, so the text is on the left. Things start to get a little more confusing when you want one image to float left, but another image to float right. This is because we're applying CSS to the image element. And every image on the page is going to get whatever CSS property we apply to it.